In something that I completely suspected that happened with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but there was no way to actually prove it beforehand. But honestly, the game was done in 2022. This is something that I made a video on, and ultimately I was wrong because the game did launch in May 2023. We're all enjoying it, not at this point. But back then I made a video talking about how 2022, the game could launch or should be launching. And now we actually got some clarification on exactly what happened with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. The fact that the game did not come out in 2022 was a blessing in disguise because of what we're going to talk about and also more. But before we get into anything, guys, please make sure you enter into our Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Switch Collector's Edition giveaway. I'm giving away one copy of that. If you want to enter in, just subscribe, hit the like button, of course, notification bell. Check out the link in the description. Go vote on our community page about your favorite power that Link has, favorite ability in Tears of the Kingdom. I will be picking one random winner on June 1st. Now let's go ahead and jump right back into this because this was a big thing amongst Zelda fans and people just waiting for the game. Is that when is it going to come out? And 2022 seemed to be the year. Nintendo said, hey, look, it's coming. There's going to be 2022, and then they delayed it. And now we know all of this stuff that was happening with it because I talked about this and it's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, it goes to show you why The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the most polished AAA massive open world game at launch of all time, in my opinion. When it comes to console games, I have never played a game this big with this few amount of bugs, glitches, problems in a massive AAA open world game, even including Nintendo's own games. For example, like Pokemon, or for another example, like Breath of the Wild, the original game in this. So let's talk about this. So last March, Nintendo did delay The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to spring 2023. However, it wasn't due to the game being incomplete or anything like that. Now, according to Mr. Alnuma, he told the Washington Post, shout outs to Gene Park over there at the Washington Post, that Tears of the Kingdom was essentially completed when the delay was announced. The team ended up spending some extra time, about 1 year, on polishing the game to ensure the physics worked properly. Now, given that this game is absolutely insane with the physics and the mechanics and all the different stuff that you can do, and this game is just nuts. If you have not played Tears of the Kingdom and have not seen all the different complications and complexity that this game has, you need to play it because it is a marvel in today's day. It is a marvel that a game like this is even made because most open world games follow the Witcher or Assassin's Creed model where a lot of it is window dressing. You can't really interact with much of the world, and if you can, there's only certain parts, like, oh, there's this part where I can clearly climb, oh, or I can clearly take this little thing off the grass. But you see a tree, you see certain buildings, you can't climb up those, you can't interact with them, you can't burn a large field of grass or trees or collect different types of bugs or whatever the case is. There are a lot of restrictions. As we've gotten more powerful hardware, it seems like the physics and other type of calculations has went down. So Nintendo and Mr. Alnuma knew that they really needed to lock this down and polish this baby. And I'll give them credit. I'll give Nintendo and I'll give Alnuma credit for saying, hey, we're not going to release it at this point. Let's get it polished. That's something that a lot of games just don't do. They can't afford to do it, or simply they just need to get the game out. The publisher says it. So it's cool that Nintendo gave them that time. And to be honest, it was good because if this game launched and it was worse in terms of how it ran than Breath of the Wild or the glitches or the bugs, which Breath of the Wild did have that at launch. It took a number of patches to really sort things out. If it did, I don't think this game would have got as high of a score as it did. Now, it almost matched it. It matched it on OpenCritic, 1 point below on Metacritic. But if this had issues, this would have been a low 90s type of score. And I don't think it gets the type of praise and the game of the year and all the nods. Now, you're going to see some of it, but right now at this point, because it launched polished and has some frame rate issues here and there, but there's really no glitches, no bugs. The fact that they actually were able to get that done, it's the most polished open world game, AAA open world title that I've ever played on console at launch. And I'm talking about all the big ones, right? When it comes to the newer end HD era games, obviously I didn't play stuff like Grand Theft Auto 3 and all that right there at launch. But in terms of the new age era, especially the HD 3D era in particular, man, like there are so many issues with games like Skyrim or Fallout or Assassin's Creed, the original. Like you can look at all the basis of these games, and to me, this is by far the most polished out of all of them, and it's a sizable jump above the launch state of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Nintendo's other open world games. Now, there is one other interesting tidbit from this whole situation, that Mr. Aonuma and his team noticed that there were some people that weren't excited about the different mechanics and stuff that they'd shown off in the game beforehand with some of the trailers. So they decided to do a gameplay demonstration showing off more of the stuff. Aonuma said this: people had not gotten their heads around the gameplay elements or where the fun might be. So they decided to do the in-depth gameplay with Mr. Aonuma. And I think that that absolutely helped quite a bit. I think that it was good that they kind of sensed that some people weren't noticing some of the different things in the trailers. Now, I noticed it right away. I was already saying this game is going to be absolutely incredible. It is going to blow away The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild because, one, I trust the Zelda team and I trust Monolith Soft to deliver that type of experience, but also, two, what they showed in those trailers. I had watched people who had been analyzing and been looking at the trailers and stuff, plus I did my own analyzation of the trailer, and I saw multiple improvements over The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild when it comes to enemy variety, when it comes to combat options, when it comes to the variety of the atmospheres, obviously the sky islands. That was already enough for me to say, okay, they're hiding stuff back. There's a bunch of other things, but it wasn't necessarily enough for everyone else that couldn't see past what something is presented right in front of them without looking a little bit deeper into it. So I'm glad that they actually said, okay, let's put something else out. However, I do think that that third trailer was going to be the clincher no matter what. Once that trailer dropped, it was like, all right, cool, you know, but they kind of squeezed something else in between that second trailer and the third trailer. So I'm very happy about that because it all turned out being very good. And obviously Tears of the Kingdom, it looks like it's going to be the best-selling game of the year, or obviously top 3 best-selling games of the year, and it looks like it's going to pass up The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild more sooner than later. I don't think it's going to take 6 years to reach 29 million or 30 million in sales. I think it's going to be a lot quicker than that, based off the game selling 10 million in 3 days, and we haven't even hit a actual holiday for the game. It hasn't had its first holiday where sales always blow up, especially for Zelda games. Breath of the Wild had did some of its best years in the holiday after it had launched already in March of 2017. The holiday 2017, 2018, 2019 were some of the best numbers, so I can see that replicating for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, if not even higher, because it's not growing with the install base. The install base is already there. Now let's go ahead and jump into something else here, guys, with an interview with Mr. Aonuma. Game Informer had a lot to talk about, and I wanted to hone in on this because we've heard some of this talk with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Is the game too big? Is it going to overwhelm players? But I think that the way that they did the Sky Islands, the Plains of Hyrule, the depths, and then also the caves, not only gives you a great way to explore in many different areas, but it also sections it off. So it's not like you have continuous access to it at all times and you're just overwhelmed. It's more of like, hey, I'm on this plane, let me play here. Now, if I want to go down here, here's where I have. So it's sectioned off into 33 percentage sections, right? For 3 of them for the whole world of Hyrule. And I think that it gives it a sense of structure and balance to where it's not too overwhelming, but at the same time, plenty to look at, to see, to battle, to combat. Because Mr. Fubiashi had something very cool to say about this. So the question was, Hyrule in Breath of the Wild was so massive. I remember just being in awe of how huge it was back in 2017. But then you look at Hyrule and the world you're able to explore in Tears of the Kingdom, it's so much larger. Was there any hesitation in creating such a large world with the concern that it might overwhelm players? Here's what Mr. Fubiashi had to say. I don't think there was any hesitation because we really put into consideration the speed or velocity of progress that players might be doing, and also thinking about what players might want to do in this world and using that as ingredients to provide a calculation or formula to do this. On a side note, Mr. Fubiashi is an incredibly intelligent man. You can just tell by the way that he talks about things. You can just tell that this dude was probably like a 4.0 student, no problem whatsoever. Now, he also went on to say this. From that perspective, I think the size is as we have intended and calculated. I think I may have mentioned this in an interview, maybe back in 2017, where the world of Hyrule is a rough approximation in terms of feeling as the city of Kyoto. And being from the city of Kyoto, I understand how much distance is felt within that city. And to overlap Hyrule with that really felt right to me. So from that point, we kind of let our imagination grow a little bit and created this world. They did a phenomenal job with that. And I think that it's cool because when you add in the depths and you add in the sky world to already the base of Hyrule, but then also creating new elements within that and transforming Hyrule and giving players the tools to navigate, it's exactly like he said. It's pretty much the velocity and speed by sectioning it off. It's not like you can just access everywhere, no problem whatsoever. You have to deliberately want to go here to explore this. Okay, I'm here, I'm going to explore this. There's only this part. Okay, there's this big wall in the depths. I can't go past that. Let me come back later. Let me go to somewhere else. So it creates a nice dichotomy between when you want to go to the plains, Hyrule, when you want to go to the depths, when you want to go up to the Sky Islands. And I love the fact that it never feels too overwhelming, but it can almost just budge up against that ceiling of being just that. But there's plenty to explore, plenty to have fun with in this world. So they did a great job, probably a better job than any other open world game than I can think of. Because sometimes I've played games that are smaller in land size than Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm already tired of the open world because it just doesn't feel fun enough to explore. There really isn't enough to do, and it's really just all Assassin's Creed style of missions where you're constantly raiding outposts or you're just fighting people over and over and over and over again without all the other elements like the climbing and the cooking and all the other different things and the mini games that you can do in Tears of the Kingdom. So very awesome there. But one other thing that we're going to talk about is Nintendo's commitment to continue Tears of the Kingdom as polished as possible. And we discussed the polish beforehand, but there is another update. I'm pretty sure most of you guys that are playing, you've already updated your game, but I didn't cover it officially. So patch version 1.1.1 is now available. Make sure you go download it if you haven't, because it does fix somewhat a big issue, but not really too big of an issue. And there's also some adjustments to the gameplay. Now, from what I understand after testing out this patch, there isn't any major performance updates when it comes to the game. That already came in the launch day patch, but it might have smoothed out some things here and there because I haven't been able to test every single area with every single problem. But one thing that I can say is that Nintendo's probably going to continue trying to patch things and get it better and better as the months go on, because that's what they did with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So according to Nintendo's website, they stated that they fixed an issue where sometimes the player could not clear the main quest, the closed door, even if they fulfilled the conditions to advance the quest. Also, if you have already encountered this issue, you will be able to clear the quest by downloading this update data. This is in addition to several issues that have been addressed to improve the gameplay experience. For those who don't know, Nintendo doesn't state they do performance patches. That is their performance patch or their bug fixing. They just say several issues have been done. That's what they did with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And they don't ever say, hey, we do a performance patch. Because the last patch that we got for Tears of the Kingdom, they said the same thing. Several issues have been addressed to improve the gameplay experience. That was actually a performance patch. It actually ran better than what people saw in the previews or anything like that. So I do feel that we could get something else in the future. Not sure if this is it. Once again, haven't tested or anything, but we could get something in the future that says the same thing, and it does improve things in some parts over the course of time. But we're going to have to wait and see on that. But what are your thoughts on everything here? Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Let me know in the comment section. Make sure you like, subscribe, notification bell, and enter into our Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Collector's Edition. Link in the description. Go vote on the community page June 1st, giving that away. Also, check out more videos on the PlayerEssence channel on Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo Switch RPGs, and more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next video. Peace.